So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I don't know that I just blow the ears off people there, but I felt I was very loud myself talking into the microphone there, so I do apologise to anybody who might be watching this in bed. But welcome to what is an incredibly important next 2 weeks, I think, for Aston Villa Football Club. Or next 10 days anyway, I suppose, 12 days, I suppose, for Aston Villa Football Club. Being in a Champions League quarterfinal is, to some clubs, something that they would turn their nose up, you know, if they didn't win it. But to our club, it shows massive progression. It shows incredible foresight and incredible squad building, incredible professionalism, and I suppose nous at boardroom level and at coaching level. And it's something we should be damn proud of, and it's something that I am. It's to be honest with you, for the next for the next 7 or 8 days, it's just going to consume, I think, 90% of what I do. And for a man who's getting married, in 12 days' time, that's saying something. That's saying something. But it's a huge, momentous occasion for Aston Villa on the world football stage, getting back to where we belong after. What is it? 43 years of not being in this position. 42 years not being in this position. I think it's just going to be a cracking week, regardless of what happens on Wednesday, and we will talk about that as well. But Paddy, there's also been other news come out of Villa Park today as well, and more so, I suppose, on contract signings, you know, for two young players that we have. So let's get that small bit out of the way first, and then we can wax lyrically about how much we're looking forward to Paris Saint-Germain. Rory Wilson, Paddy, we never thought he'd sign the next thing last week.
It was a bolt out of the blue. We got a bit of a wind of it last week, and he obviously showed up on the bench over the last few days for the underage team. So, by all accounts, he's the next big thing. I've only seen him a couple of times, really, myself, and he looks the real deal, as much of a real deal as you can at that age. We were a little bit worried about his attitude and refusing to sign, or whatever you're led to believe. But I think it's a really, really good signing for the club. And look, signing up youngsters in today's market, where you've got the likes of Carney doing what he did and moving on for more money, I would imagine they have seen the way Unai Emery has brought players through, made them better, made them into world beaters. I listened to a podcast today where someone said Morgan Rogers was £100 million player.
Plus, £100 million plus. I listened to the same podcast. And I tend to agree.
So bear in mind that what the 2 years they signed, is it? A year and a half? At 8 million plus, I don't know, it's madness. But that's the kind of manager and management team we have around that can turn someone's career like that. So it would be absolute madness of the young lad to move on and not benefit from what's going on here at the moment. Because no matter how loud you say this, it's a little bit surreal. When 10 years ago we were circling the sinkhole for relegation, 3 years in the Championship, and we're sitting here today talking about a Champions League quarter-final. It is absolutely off the Richter scale what's happened here. And this is the first time all season where I have zero nerves, because it's just a bonus at this stage. It's absolutely brilliant that we're in this situation. So for young lads, obviously Bogard has been much more around the team. We've seen his progression there. And who knows, maybe he had the chat with Rory Wilson and said, well, look what I did. Look how many first team appearances I'm after getting this season. You'd be absolutely nuts to go elsewhere. You're only going elsewhere for money reasons. So he's obviously staying for football reasons. He will get opportunities, be that on loan or be that around the first team. But if he's back now fully fit, let's see what he can do for the rest of the season. He'd be definitely training with the first team in pre-season the season coming. So he will have opportunities. He will definitely have opportunities to show what he can do. And let's just see what he has.
Yeah, it's like for me, you think with Roy Wilson, do you know what? I never expected him to sign, but now that he has signed, my mind has gone to, well, you're some dope for not signing 6 months earlier when you could have been involved with actually, I don't think he could have been involved in the youth league, but he had an opportunity there when we had only one fit striker for a period of time. And John Duran was injured. We had Ollie Watkins. We were flogging Ollie Watkins towards the end of the calendar year 2024. And that young man could have been involved. Could have been involved with the first team. And if his big bugbear was there is no progression path towards the first team, that was something that at the time I was kind of very much so kind of saying you're being ill-advised. Now, look, he's signed on a 2-year contract with the option for another one. He's 19 going on 20. It seems, and from what I've read today, that assurances were given of being in and around the first team a small bit more. The club obviously think very highly of him. World football thinks very highly of him, apparently. Apparently he had lots and lots of offers. So good that we get to keep him around. For sure. You having young striking talent on your books already and getting to hold on to them is a luxury for a team like Aston Villa usually. So brilliant that we do that. And look, I grabs his chance with both hands now for in the upcoming upcoming off season. Then moves into I would imagine we're going to see him in pre-season. Let's just say he turns out to be a player. Well, then that's us saved a ton of money. So it's. It's something,
and let's just reiterate that we're going on hearsay that he never signed that contract. Maybe he always intended on signing the contract, but you'd have to look at the progression of what we've done with Jayden Philogene under Unai Emery, Carney coming in under Dean Smith and under Stephen Gerrard. All of these things Cameron Archer, all of these things just show everybody that if you're good enough, you will get an opportunity. Lamar Bogard, as we've previously mentioned, all the progression is there, all the availability to progress is there, and if you're good enough, you will get there. So there's an opportunity there for the kids, and with the Premier League homegrown rules, he could very well have a number next season.
I think he will. I think that's a prerequisite, to be honest with you, of him signing the deal. I'm having a laugh. Yeah. Our headwear Paddy, our hats are getting comments there. I had to laugh at this one. Neil is the look of Agassi. I'll take Andre Agassi. I'll definitely take Andre Agassi. But Frank Kavanagh says you need some stones to wear a hat backwards in Ireland, Neil. Not only did I go walking the dog today in a hat backwards, but I went out in the white shirt with Rogers 27 on the back. And yes, I am touching 40 with the player's name on the back of my shirt. And I did actually go, I might actually take off the jersey. And I went, nah, fuck them. It's their problem if they've got an issue with it. Good trot around the town here today with the dog with Morgan Rogers in the back of my shirt and my hat turned backwards. I felt like I was 14 again. It's great. Great to have a bit of sunshine.
You only look 14.
I do. Yeah. 14. Exactly. 1400 years old. But anyway, let's get into this game. No, I wanted to I wanted to go and just acknowledge the fact that those two young men had signed for Aston Villa as well. Oh, actually, before we get into the Champions League quarterfinal preview as well, we do have something. I do want to go through something as well here. We have been fortunate enough to have a sponsor come on for a short period of time onto the podcast as well, and it's a sponsor that's on some other podcasts as well, but it is NORDVPN are going to be the sponsor of our next few podcasts as well while we're still in the Premier League. So with that in mind, I just wanted to play a little advert we did for NORDVPN. And look, guys, if you as I say, if you can afford to sign up for NORDVPN and you consider using our link, we would be absolutely over the moon with regards to it. Keeps us it'll be able to keep the lights on it for the Love of Paul McGrath Towers as well, and contributes to the podcast. But here's a little advert for our exclusive offer for NordVPN as well, guys, and then we'll get into talking about PSG preview there. All right, lads and lasses, let's take a quick break from all things Villa and talk about something every football fan needs, and that's keeping your online game as tight as Ezri Konsa's man marking. And that's where NordVPN comes in. Whether you're streaming the match on Wi-Fi at the pub or checking the latest transfer gossip without your boss clocking it, NordVPN's got your back. It's dead simple. It encrypts your connection, hides your IP, and lets you sidestep those geo-blocks so you can watch the footy from anywhere. Imagine seeing Asensio crack one in the top corner versus PSG in 4K from one of Nord's 7,400 servers in 118 countries. Just change your virtual location easily, no buffering and no hassle. I use it myself, so it's a no-brainer to go get an exclusive NordVPN discount of up to 74% plus 4 extra months when you sign up to 1 year or 2 year plans at www.nordvpn.com/FTLoPM. The link is in the description, so go click on it now and sign up and help us here for the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. So head to www.nordvpn.com/FTLoPM, sign up and keep your online moves safer than Emi Martinez's goal during the penalty shootout. Cheers to NordVPN, and now let's get back to all things wonderful about Unai Emery's Aston Villa. Up the Villa! I had some crack making the backing music for that as well, guys, today. I had some crack. And we've another feature coming up today as well, where I made a little vignette for it, a little intro vignette for it as well. And I had some crack making the intro, making the music for that as well. But I'll keep that one as a surprise. But yes, NordVPN have come on board with the podcast for a short period of time. Hopefully it'll be a longer period of time. But if you are looking for a VPN to keep any nasty people from looking into your internet usage or trying to hack into your phone or your computer or whatever the crack is, consider us if you're looking to sign up for something like that. Excellent. So Paddy, PSG, never heard of them.
Yeah, brand new team, aren't they? They're only around as long as Man City have a history, I think. Maybe a little bit longer than Man City have a history. Yeah, look, they're
what, since 2009? Oh, Paddy, actually, here's one for you.
Long, should I not? What was it, mid-90s when they started?
I can't remember. I don't know. But what I can tell you is the only other shirt up until, oh, Jesus, it could actually be, up until I bought a Wales third jersey, and there's a story behind that only because it was green and yellow. I think the only jersey of another football club that I ever owned was a Paris Saint-Germain jersey. And it was a double XL jersey I bought when I was about 14 years of age, coming through the airport in not in Charles de Gaulle, was that one, Beauvais, or maybe just before we went out to Beauvais airport on a school tour. I bought this, and it was the only one there. It was in a what you call it, discount rail, and I was only 14 years of age, and it was massive on me. And I still have it somewhere. It was the white one, the white Nike one. Yeah.
In those days, you wore them massive, though, didn't you?
Yeah. I had no other choice. I was only ever buying things off the discount rails back then. Anyway, that was for sure.
I often think about those jerseys I had back in the 90s that were dripping off me. They'd fit me perfectly now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, Neil, 1970, as we're told in the comments, and I just Googled, it is 1970. So they're older than me.
Yeah. But
not much older than me, but they're older than me.
Exactly, yeah. But they're a story club, you know. They're a club that I remember watching. I remember that they have Lipton Ice on the front of their jerseys when George Weah was playing with them. I seem to very vividly remember something along those lines. But look, a very storied club, obviously playing in the capital of France. Their near neighbours, FC Paris, are actually going to be playing literally like, I think it's something. There's going to be less than 700 meters between the two stadiums next year if FC Paris do move into that other stadium. But as I say, a story club. Obviously, running rampant in League One at the moment, winning all around them. Nobody needs to be told that. Probably taking all the competitive nature really out of that league at the moment, and the fun for a lot of other teams. But they're a team that I think has grown, tried to become Galacticos. Obviously, they're Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. They don't have any of those anymore, but they've grown a front three again that is every bit as dangerous in Barcola, Dembele, and Kvaratskhelia, or however you pronounce his name. And Villa are like, I really enjoyed watching them on both legs against Liverpool. And I haven't seen a whole pile of them this year, I'm going to be honest with you, but their midfield trio, Fabian Ruiz, Vitinha, and Neves, could be my favourite midfield trio in the world at this moment in time. And Villa, they're the two lines that Villa are going to have to break down, very much so. And I think if you can be competitive against the press of their front three, and definitely if you can get through the middle of their midfield, very much so, because they kind of rotate in there, Fabian Ruiz being the heft in there, and Vitinha and Neves are just all action. I think if you can get directly through and dribbling through the center of this team, I think you can I think you can kind of scare them slightly. But Paddy, have you seen a whole pile of PSG this season?
Not a whole pile. I did obviously watch the games against Liverpool, which were just bizarre in themselves. And I think if they play anything like they did in that first leg against Liverpool, we're going to be in serious trouble, and we're going to be seriously need to be prepared for that. So I think that's kind of why I'm more relaxed about this than anything else, because I am just considering this a treat at the back end of our European adventure. I'm there in hope rather than expectation. I'm going to the home leg, which is absolutely bizarre to be saying I'm going to see Villa in the Champions League quarterfinal, and it's just a pleasure. What we get out of it, anything is a bonus. I'm not expecting us to come through the tie over two legs. I'm expecting us to struggle a little bit in this one, and I'm fine with that. We're not there yet. We're not at that level yet. But then again, we've accounted for Bayern Munich. Why not account for PSG? So I'm just treating it that way, so that way my heart won't be as bad if it inevitably comes around, which it will at some stage. And if it's this week, or the next 10 days, and the dream is over. What a dream it's been, and it's been a joy to watch all of those huge clubs coming to Villa Park, and us going to the likes of Leipzig, the likes of PSG, Celtic at home, Bayern Munich at home, Juventus at home. This is all we ever dreamed of. I don't think I've ever dreamed that we were going to win it. Obviously, anything is possible when you get to this stage of the competition. We've got an absolute maestro in charge of our team, and someone who's been there many, many times at the back end of European competitions. So if we wanted anyone in our corner, so to speak, it would be that man, and he is the man who can mastermind something out of this. I'm not saying he's going to, but if anybody can, Unai Emery can.
Yeah, and you know what? You just got me thinking there, Paddy, when you were talking. You said, we've beaten Bayern Munich this season, and I was doing a kind of a bracketology kind of a thing, trying to map out where the rest of this Champions League would go. And I did have PSG and Bayern Munich in the final, and I had Bayern Munich winning it in the final. And then, obviously I was kind of facetious at the time, and I said it, yeah. And then I was kind of going, "Whoa, could you imagine Vincent Kompany lifting the Champions League in his first season at Bayern Munich? Wouldn't it be some better in his cap?" And I went, "Wait a minute, we beat Bayern Munich, and we were every inches, should have beaten Bayern Munich that day. And if I'm putting Bayern Munich to win this whole thing and beat Paris Saint-Germain in the final, well, then why don't Villa have more of a fighting chance?" And I think this is going to be one of those stereotypical games whereby Villa will have to be absolutely hated for 90 minutes, They'll have to go through all the dark arts. They'll have to get a lot of the rubs of the green in Paris. And I think we're capable of doing that. I think we're capable of going there and putting up a great account of ourselves, first of all. I think we're capable of going there, maybe being 1-0 down. I'd retract the rubs of the green part, but I think that we can go there, and we've played better in the Champions League than we have in the league. And in the main, even you look at Emi Martinez's statistics in the Champions League, he just elevates to another level than he does in the league. So very much so, it all depends on this game. You know, we mightn't even do, like, it's one of those ones whereby you have to keep yourself in the tie. Have to keep yourself in the tie after, and you know, it goes back to when the draws were being made, and everybody, and I've spoken to you about this, Paddy, off air quite a lot. There's a couple of things that I'm not sure that I buy into, and I see John Steele messaging about it there in the chat room, saying about new manager bounce. I'm not sure I believe in new manager bounce, and I'm also not sure I believe in the home leg second being a massive advantage, as people say it is. Like, I don't think it's any advantage in this game. I don't know. I'm not sure that it's any advantage in this game.
I believe it is.
But it only is if we come back still in the tie. Like, if we come back 3-0 down and we've given ourselves something to do, then I don't think that we get it done in Villa Park. Like, but conversely, I think that if this was flipped around and if Paris Saint-Germain came to Villa Park in the first leg and we went 3-0 up, I think they could bring it back to Parc des Princes and win 3-0 and then maybe go through. So it's very subjective, I suppose, to whatever way the teams are playing. Now, look, I absolutely know that home advantage is an advantage. So don't get me wrong there. But I'm just talking about it, that it's no advantage. I don't think it's going to be an advantage to us if we're 2-0 down or 3-0 down coming into the second leg. So it's an interesting one, I think, for sure. And it's like I'm still giddy as a March here, looking forward to this, to be honest with you. I can't wait for it, like, regardless. But one thing, Paddy, that I shared a little piece with you today, and it's to do with the referee, Paddy. But before we get onto that, I do want to play the little jingle for our new segment. I had a great day today messing with AI. I had an absolute super day today. It was one of the funnest days I've had in a long time. So everybody, buckle up. Here is my new intro music for Paddy's reference, everybody.
Yes! Left one! Parties! Left one! Left
Oh, I had so much fun today messing with that old fella who's created an AI as well today. I had so much fun. I said, I don't care. I'm definitely putting that in. Oh, I was actually crying laughing at that there.
You said that to me today, and I'm actually looking at it going, is that what AI have made out that I'm going to look like in a few years?
No. Well, put it this way. So, Paddy, for any Irish fan, anybody who's a fan of GA and football here, Paddy, I did superimpose your head onto Mayo Mixed Body, and I said you might actually just turn off the podcast and never come back on again if I was to do that.
That'd be it. Yeah.
You would have resigned. So I went to it. I went with that instead. Just a man showing his frustration at a referee. This is the best I could do. Oh, I did have some crack today, and I was being paid to do it as well by my day job. That was
fucking amazing what you can do in a few hours of your own, Neil, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But anyway, the reason I wanted to do that in Paddy's referent, which we will keep that little intro music on file anyway for whenever it's needed. But the reason I wanted to do that, Paddy, is, and let me zoom in here on this, if I can. UEFA have picked an inexperienced Italian referee for a PSG versus Aston Villa. Italian referee Maurizio Mariani has been tasked by UEFA to oversee the Champions League quarterfinals leg between PSG and Aston Villa, and the game will be played this Wednesday, blah, 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 blah. UEFA's choice is rather curious considering Mariani has never officiated a game of this magnitude, prompting L'Equipe to label him as inexperienced. Now, the reason that I bring this up is the French media are getting in their excuses early, or are they just pointing out the obvious, Paddy?
You sent it to me and I read it and I was like, nothing surprises me at this stage. What you're going to come up against, it didn't make me rant or put me up or down. I have to say, I was just like, yeah, right, whatever, okay. The one thing I hope carries into this game is the hatred of the rest of Europe for Paris Saint-Germain and everything they stand for. And I hope that that's what the inexperienced Italian referee has the same opinion of. So if that's going to go in our favour, then so be it. But I'm not expecting any favours off UEFA. Paris Saint-Germain are world beaters around, or they've got so many fans all around the world. Same way we look at it in the Premier League where the greedy six get strange decisions. UEFA do that too. So I'm not expecting any favours off anybody. We just got to go and do our own job and make sure that we're still in the tie by the time we come home on Thursday morning, and have something to play for next week. And that has to be the focus. We can't get sidetracked. Let the French get annoyed at this, because I really couldn't give a shiny shite at this stage. I might, if we talk on maybe not directly after the game, but we'll see how it pans out. But if we talk later in the week, I might have something to say in Paddy's ref rant. But for now, it seems like a strange decision. Obviously, got to pay your best officials when you get to this stage of the competition. But as I said, nothing surprises me with people that go on football. They don't do anything right. Never have, never will. And everything is all lean towards the big teams getting there. And who knows, maybe they'll change the rules next year. Maybe they won't do the Swiss model because too many people missed out on big games.
But that's the thing. So the thing I wanted to highlight here as well is that while the Serie A referee is no stranger to is a stranger to PSG, he refed our game against Leipzig on December the 10th. So a game that we won 3-2. So yeah. So it's one that look, hopefully familiarity doesn't bring contempt in this instance. But just you mentioned there about the whole of Europe having discontent with PSG. Have any of you ever watched I can't remember what it's called. It's a documentary about the Super League where it follows Seferin around the place. Now, the biggest, most blatant piece of propaganda you will ever see in footballing parlance in your whole entire life. But I did enjoy it. And it's all very heavily revolves around the chairman of Paris Saint-Germain being the mediator and the broker, and basically the fellow who turned tide on the Super League essentially. And when he went with UEFA, the Super League then began to dissolve, and then he obviously became the chairman of I can't remember what they're called, the professional European Professional Clubs Association or whatever it's called, and he's the chairman of that as well. So I think he did get some sort of good kudos back based on that. I think if he was the person who mediated and did put the first nail, should I say, in the Super League coffin, then he gets a small bit of a thumbs up for me, albeit you guys should watch it. It's very much told from you're told the story that the UEFA wants you to hear for sure in it, but an enjoyable watch all the same, I must say. Yeah,
gave us two yellow cards in that Leipzig game.
Yeah.
So none of them were for Remy Martinez. So he wasn't wasting time or anything that day. Yeah, he booked Luca Dean and he booked Diego Carlos.
Yeah. And Diego Carlos no longer of this parish. But I think that Luca Dean will end up. That's actually a nice little segue onto that, Paddy, because obviously we made 8 substitutions or 8 changes, shall I say, over the course of the weekend when we played Nottingham Forest. Again, which I didn't get your thoughts on, and you can go into it a small bit if you want to, but tie it back into the Paris Saint-Germain selection if you can. We can do it that way, but it's Luca Dean obviously didn't play. Maatsen played. Yeah. Thought he was one of the better players. Probably was just shaded man of the match for me. He was just shaded man of the match for me. Maybe by Rodgers, I would say. But I think he has to take his place on the bench for this one. Luca Dean comes back in. Do you think?
I would think so, judging by the selection. Obviously, Luca Dean is one of our connections to Paris Saint-Germain, who spent 2 seasons there 10 or 11 years ago. The other being that Unai Emery has obviously managed Paris Saint-Germain. So I don't think that overlapped, did it? I think he was gone before Unai Emery came in. I could be wrong with that, but I don't think it overlapped.
But I can't say for sure. Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah. I fully expect those that were rested, stepped down, considered fourth string, not our second string. I don't know what way you look at it. I put it down to managing the minutes of what's going to be a crazy few weeks, bearing in mind that we've got 2 Champions League games, either side of a game against Southampton. And then we've obviously got a huge game against Newcastle, and then Man City shortly after midweek. So the next, what did we say? It was 21 days, the big 21 days. We're motoring through that at the moment. We haven't picked up any additional injuries. So maybe this has been managed absolutely to perfection. And I suppose you would have to consider that Rashford would start. That's why we're paying him the big bucks. Another tenuous link, he has beaten PSG in the Champions League in the past. So it's good to have him in there. I would imagine we'd see Asensio, given the fact that he's our inside man who knows this team, should know this team inside out. And yeah, I do see wholesale changes from what started against Forest. Just to not go back over old ground, we were excellent in the first half, I thought, against Forest. Looked really, really comfortable. They didn't lay a glove on us. They didn't try and lay a glove on us, but I knew the second half was going to be a little bit different. Didn't foresee us taking off Garcia, which I thought had a negative impact on us and made us very narrow down that side, and invited them onto us down that side, and they exploited it. And it made our life very, very difficult, and we coughed up a number of opportunities. I lost count of the amount of shots that went across the face of the goal and just wide of the back post on Saturday, and it was a difficult watch that second half. But we got the job done. We got 3 points, and we said it so many times this season, winning ugly is fine. You know, the first half was excellent and everybody was so relaxed at half time. But then shortly after the second half began, we were under savage pressure. So it was one of those proverbial games of 2 halves. But thankfully, the only stats or anything you want to talk about that matters is the one that says we got 3 points on the board and we won the game 2-1. So I'm over it. We're on to the next one, and I'm worried about Southampton at the weekend when now that they've nothing to play for. But let's get this one out of the way, and I see wholesale changes, and probably the bulk of those 8 players who were stood down at the weekend will come back in.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I don't think Asensio is going to start this game. I think Asensio is going to come off the bench and he's going to have one of his giddy snapshots in the box as well, and I think he's going to have a massive part to play in this game. But as I mentioned previously, I think that this is going to be a game where Rashford's going to play on the left, Rodgers is going to play on the right, and we're going to have McGinn in midfield as well, because I think he's going to want to get Kamara, Tielemans, McGinn in there into that midfield, and I think he's right to it. I think he's going to start. Why not? Look, and come here, everybody knows I'm the conductor of the Watkins fan bus, but I did say he was poor at the weekend, and I do think he was poor at the weekend, but I still think he's going to start him up top in Paris. I do, and the reason I think that is because I think he's going to want to get McGinn into the team. I think that if you play Rashford up top, then that means that you're going to have to play Ramsey on that left wing. I just don't think he's going to start with behind the striker line of Ramsey, McGinn, and Rodgers. I think he's going to want Rashford out there. I think he's going to want to have Rashford cutting inside. We're going to have no Marquinhos, and that's why I'm focusing on this left hand side very much. So they're not going to have Marquinhos. He's out. He's got a red card. João Neves is going to probably play over in that kind of the right of the tree in that midfield. Really good player. One of my favorite players actually in European football at the moment. I just love him. I think he's brilliant. He's only 19 and it's the world at his feet. And then they've got Hakimi there and that as that right back. And I think that they're going to want to attack the areas between Hakimi and probably Beraldo, who's probably going to be in there, I think. I would imagine maybe Beraldo will be that right-sided centre half. I'm not 100% sure, but without Marquinhos being in there, they're one of their longest-serving players, their club captain. I think they're going to want to come in from that left-hand side. I think they're going to want to attack in a diagonal fashion from that left-hand side and see what they can do there. So that's why I don't think he's going to play Ramsey there, and why he's going to start Ramsey there. That's why I think he's going to start Rashford there, and he's going to play Watkins up top. Now, look, either one suits me down to the ground, but I think that's the team. I also think we might see a Konza Torres partnership, because I think what he'll want to do is he'll definitely want to draw their front three on. Their front three are incredibly good at pressing, but they press like mad. And teams have passed through their press previously, and I think that he'll want to try to do that with Torres, because if it works, you can not get at Vitinha, because he's going to be in the Champions League team of the year, I would imagine, especially if they progress in this. But it's the one way that I mentioned that you can try and get vertical in this team through the middle. Playing the ball through the middle against this team. You're going to need to have Torres there, I think. So there will be discussions, I think, with regards to this team sheet. There will definitely be discussions, and I think it'll be difficult to pick the first 11 for this game.
Yeah, and look, I was being a bit flippant saying it picks itself because of what he's left out. I do believe it's Torres in there for his ball playing ability from passing the ball, getting it between the lines into our midfield. I think that's where the game is won and lost for us. If we can play through their press, if we can keep the ball for longer, then Liverpool could in that. And somebody correctly points out that Liverpool haven't been great since that game, so maybe it was just the start of them starting to be a little bit tired and laboured with their game. So it's a hard one to judge, but Liverpool were absolutely destroyed that day and still won 1-0. So it was absolutely amazing, the press, and I think the whole of Europe sat up and went, Jesus Christ, where did this come from? So we're going to see a lot of ball played out to Torres to see where he can pick the man, whoever that is, Tielemans, McGinn, whether it's a long one to Rashford or Watkins, whatever that may be. But it's how we manage this press is how we finish this game. So if we can manage to play the ball through the press, if we keep giving them the ball back, I think we're going to be in a world of trouble. So I think he's going to go out to try and master the press, pass the ball around them as much as we possibly can, give it back to Martinez if we have to, but frustrate them, make them angry, annoy the crowd, get the crowd back up, and hopefully hit them on the break. I think that's how we line up out there. I think it's Rashford in attack. Definitely think it's Rashford in attack. Just my opinion. Obviously, we've second-guessed this man so many times, and he's proved us wrong 99 times out of 100. But if I was picking the team based on form and based on what he can do, it would be Rashford in attack for me. And to have that 3 or 4 players to be able to break. I agree with you. It may not be essential. Yeah, the more I think about it, it may not be essential. But if you look at having Rashford, Ramsey, Rodgers, ball carriers taking the ball at you, that could be exactly what we need in this game. And who knows? Maybe it's not even played with an out-and-out number 9 there. Maybe it's played with those 3 in front of a midfield 3. Maybe a 4-2-1-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever he decides to do. There might be just a little bit of a change. Maybe it's that box formation that he used to play with the 2 inside mid wingers, let's call them. And look, we know that he's well capable of causing an upset, and we just gotta believe that he'll get the tactics spot on. But yeah, it's going to be a weird team sheet tantrum, because no matter what way we look at it, we probably still won't come up with exactly what he's done with the team sheet until the game kicks off.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think it is. That's just another reason for you all to tune into the team sheet tantrum to see what the team is in real time. I'm just actually looking at the PSG roster here as well. I forgot Kimpembe plays for them also. Kimpembe, should I say, plays for them as well. He's another guy, although I don't expect him to come in there at centre half. He hasn't played a whole pile for them in the last 2 seasons in League One. But
I think it'll be Beraldo as well. Beraldo's played over
yeah.
50 games in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
It makes sense for him to be in there. And
I think so,
for such a young man, he's a
Fenway
wealth of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, but look, it's going to be an incredible experience for all the fans that got to go to Paris, and they're going to get to see it in the Parc de France. No, it's not. What's the Stade de France?
Yeah, you're right.
Is it Parc de France?
No,
Was that right?
Parc de France, yeah.
Is it Parc de France? I always get that mixed up. But yeah, it's going to be an incredible experience, and yeah, likewise, if we can go over there, keep come back with a positive result. And I think anything from a 1-goal loss to a 10-goal win could be considered, 10-goal win for Aston Villa, that is, can be considered a positive result going over there to Paris. And I think they should still go over there with a massive amount of confidence as well that they can do this, because, you look at the teams that are left in the last few stages of this competition. Villa are very much an outlier. We are an outlier for the teams that are left here. Yes, you could say that we got a kinder draw against Club Brugge, but somebody had to get that draw. Somebody had to get that draw, and likewise, people will be saying that Paris Saint-Germain have got a kinder draw against Villa. They're probably, there's people probably already putting it in pen somewhere along the line that PSG are going to be playing Real Madrid in the semi-final. But Arsenal and Aston Villa are going to have something to say about that, I hope, and we will be here to talk to you guys about it in the team sheet tantrum in the post-match and the preview for when they come back to Villa Park as well. And it's as we started off saying, it's not small time, it's not tin pot, it's not anything like that to be excited to be in the Champions League quarter final given where we were. It's all about the progression of this team, and we can be very proud regardless of what the result is, I think, of this Aston Villa team and where they've gone this season. And who's to say that they don't go away and beat Paris Saint-Germain as well in the Parc de France and give us something to shout about when they come back to Villa Park. So, yeah, I think, Paddy, I don't know about you, but anything else that you want to go through with regards to this game?
No, I'll leave you with this. I can assure you now, in the last few days, bear in mind that they've won the league on Saturday, and let's hope that they've over-celebrated for a couple of days. But I can assure you that today in training and tomorrow in training, there is not one PSG player looking forward to playing Aston Villa.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be looking into the unknown of what's going to happen. They don't want to be looking into the eyes of Unai Emery and wondering what he's going to do. So it is going to be a little bit different. And look, we'll go and hope rather than expectation, and just believe that we can come up with a master plan.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll be back again on Wednesday with a team sheet tantrum. 50 minutes before not 50 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes before kickoff. So that makes it 6:40. We'll be here with a team sheet tantrum, and then we'll be back with a reaction podcast right on the final whistle, come what may, for that as well. Also, as I mentioned, NordVPN. It's in the description if anybody's interested in it. You want to click on that, you see the offer that's available. It's an exclusive offer to the show here as well. And as Anne says there also, don't forget to give us a thumbs up on your way out, and tell somebody that you think might like the podcast to give it a gander. I had an interesting one. I was inside and work, and a fella messaged me out of the blue, and he goes, I was blowing the pub and I was talking to this fella, and your man lives in the back of Cork somewhere, so he's not exactly in the most metropolitan area. And he said, went down to the pub, and there was this oldish fella. He's in his mid to late 60s down, and I got talking to him, and he told me he was an Aston Villa fan, and I know him for years. And next thing, he pulls out his phone and he starts playing me this podcast, and there was your face on it. So fella in work said that to me, and I went, well, that's brilliant. I goes, it's nice to hear that kind of stuff. So if you do know of somebody that you think might like the podcast, word of mouth is always the best selling point. So let them know and tell them, and we'd be delighted to have them along for the ride, whatever is left in this Champions League year. So Yeah, we're going to leave it at that, everyone. Thanks a million for all your time, as always. And we will see you again on Wednesday for Team Sheet Tantrums and Post-Match Podcasts. But until then, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.